My people were biologically determined for one purpose alone, to sense the coming of damn fine podcasts. I sense it coming now.
But hello everybody, and welcome to a Discovery Home Companion, your home for Discovery listening and companion. I said I was going to think up something new to say there, and I didn't. But yeah, your home for Discovery companionship, sure. My name is Wade Bowen, and I've got a couple of the usual scabs here with me. Sorry, guys. Glen Hall.
Howdy, everyone.
And Sean Parada.
Hello.
And continuing in the ways of the season 2 of Disco Home here, we've got another guest.
Woo.
Hey, guys.
Yes, I'm very excited to have Kristin from Toronto on the pod.
You can say my real name. You can say my real name. It's okay. I'll come out of the closet. This is Kristin Mueller-Heaslip from Toronto.
So I just realized I forgot to ask you how you would like to be introduced.
All good.
Tisk.
Yeah, don't dox people, Wade.
I guess do dox people?
With their...
I think I'm fairly well known in real life for having opinions about Star Trek, so it will surprise absolutely no one of my acquaintance. So It's all good.
Right. Yeah. If you are a listener to the Rules of Acquisition, or maybe did you call in for last season of Discovery too?
Yeah.
Probably at some point.
Once or twice, yeah. I think I did.
Yeah. So listeners may be familiar with your voice. I'm certainly familiar with you from calling in, and I felt like on the Discord, on the Patreon, I've been keeping up with your posts and comments on Star Trek Discovery, and even stealing comments every now and then to bring up later. So I felt like it would be wrong and bad of me to not bring you on the podcast or not give you credit for all the ideas of yours.
There you
Why,
go.
thank you.
That's a big thing right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Why, thank you. I am it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes. And so I guess we can just get started talking about this latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, which is called the Saints of Imperfection. Is that right?
That sounds right.
All right.
I do want to just announce before we get into all this.
Glenn has an announcement.
Ooh.
Look at this.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, that makes it sound more
Look
dramatic.
at this.
Yeah, better pay off.
Yeah,
Well,
boys, this is big.
But now I feel bad. I was just gonna say I have now officially watched every episode of Discovery. Between last episode and this one, I've watched all of the first season.
Oh, right. Yes.
Congratulations.
It was not worth the buildup.
No.
No, it's cool you're abandoning me as the guy. Now I just look like the asshole who doesn't know what's going on, but I wear that hat well, so it's fine.
Right. That's what I brought you on for. To
Right.
be that. That's fine. I mean, but it's also fine that you went back and rewatched it. Yeah, you did tell me that you did, and I guess if you want to remark on that a bit before this, you actually ended up liking it a lot more than I believe I did at the end of season 1.
I say just like a quick capsule review from me. I did enjoy the show. I recognize it has a lot of flaws, and I obviously am not as attuned to the canon problems that I'm sure people have with it. But just kind of on its merits, I felt like it was a perfectly enjoyable sci-fi show. Jason Isaacs is great. Michelle Yeoh is great. Doug Jones. The cast is really good. I think the problems with Michael Burnham as a character are also present in that season. And yeah, I mean, I won't get really
See, that's where I
it.
disagree with you. My problems with it aren't even canon problems. I just think it's a badly written show of types. It's even as I defended it, I think it's lower tier, middle of the road television writing.
Let's jump to the present.
Yes.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's
what got all the fans mad at us, anyways, and and the podcast. So I should probably not have said that.
Well,
listen, but I think that's like a good place to jump. Like, I thought this episode was really good.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
Right? I think we're sort of like in a stretch, and this stretch might just be the last 2 episodes. I don't really remember how I felt about 3 episodes ago, but like I really liked last week, and I really liked this week. Yeah, please.
I really liked last week. This week, I would not say as much. I thought it had some really good things in it. So, like, to be positive.
Okay.
I thought Mary Wiseman was fantastic.
Yeah.
She's always really good. As Tilly, I thought Tilly was just the best. It was a big ask. And I thought the kind of Orpheus moment with Culber and Stamets when he tries to go through and his hand disappears.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really beautiful and well done. But I thought the pacing was way, way off, and I can go into detail about that, and I took detailed notes about the timing of things happened on that second watch, because I'm like, it feels like this end where it's like, we have 3 minutes. This feels like it's taking a really long time.
Yeah.
And I didn't, the dialogue continues to be really bad. Just like the way they have people talk feels really stilted, and it doesn't have to be realistic, but it feels false. And I am so over the not Ash Burnham relationship, just the whole Ash Tyler character.
No thanks.
You know, like, he's really cute, but I am just way too old for the broody cafeteria stary conversations. You know, it's like, oh, okay, this is Star Trek High School. We're like, hi, I'm glad to see you again. Yeah, I'm glad to see you too, even though we broke up and I tried to strangle you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The main issue, well, and we can talk about, like, since Glenn brought up season 1, and you were you more of in line with the podcast, or were you on board with season 1?
I held out hope for a lot of season 1. I think I thought it was. I agree with Glenn, is that on its merits, it's a perfectly okay show.
Mm-hmm.
As Star Trek, I think I expected more from it. Not that all Star Trek is good. There's lots of really bad Star Trek out there, but it didn't add up.
Sure.
It didn't add up. You know, that you can be a show that you enjoy watching, but if you think about it for more than 5 minutes, it just disappears.
Yeah.
So that was my big contribution, I think, to the rules of acquisition, was my idea of each Star Trek series having a thesis. It has a theme and a thesis, right? A thing that it's about and an idea about it.
Yes.
And the best we could come up with for Discovery was people, they're not that bad, right? So it's
right.
I mean, they had the opportunity to genocide the Klingon people, and they didn't. They thought real hard about it, and they kind of left the door open to do it later. So it's like, you don't get much of a high five for that, but it's like, well, we could have done worse. So overall, like, Discovery season 1 is not something I would ever go back and watch.
Right.
I would rewatch Voyager before I would watch Discovery season 1.
Uh-huh.
It's like watching, like, NCIS or something like that, you know? It's like, this is something I would watch in a hotel room. Sure. Is this on TV at my parents' house? Right. Okay, sure. I'll watch that.
It's disposable.
Yeah, but it doesn't have any real, like, resonance for me in a way that, like, I do keep going back and rewatching TNG and DS9, and I'll probably rewatch Enterprise at some point in time. Like, it's not the best, but it has that, it survives, it continues in a way that Disco doesn't. And I have a theory as to why. I'm teasing that now. I'll say it later in the podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see, and I'm the guy that ruins all my Star Trek podcasting cred by having not watched Enterprise.
Wait.
We had talked about, like, locking the Kickers of Elves, all three of us, in a hotel room and just, like, mainlining it, like...
Clockwork Orange style?
Clockwork Orange style, yeah. But, who knows, that might not happen. Sorry, everybody. But I do. It is worthwhile to bring up season 1 because I feel like this episode in particular seems, well, it's pretty obviously fixing one of the biggest mistakes of season 1, which was when they fridged Hugh Culber and buried their gays and said that they weren't, but they kind of did. And then this episode, even the title of the episode, sounds almost like an apology,
right?
Or let us fix this.
An acknowledgement, yeah.
Right, because I mean it's your good old Star Trek pretentious title, but Saints of who are the Saints of Imperfection? Are they
the showrunners?
The showrunners, or like the writers, or are they the Joss Sepp? Right. Hugh is the Saint of Imperfection. The imperfections that they seem to be missing is trying to do the right thing by bringing Hugh Culber back and unburying their...
I sort of have, like, two big picture questions, like, sort of just like things to ponder that maybe we can discuss if you want. Whatever. But so like, just in terms of like this episode, like, is bringing him back muted by the fact that everybody and their mother knew it was coming? And B, like, would it maybe have almost been, I don't know, like, more honest to what the show maybe was doing, like, to have that moment stick in the end where they say, you can't come back? Like, would I completely, like, like, politically, in terms of, like, goodwill for the show, bringing him back makes the most sense, and I guess, like, the way they did it makes sense scientifically, sci-fi, Star Trek-ly.
No, it doesn't. Come on. Of course it doesn't make sense. That is the most egregious bit of pseudoscientific technobabble ever.
Yeah.
That was so non-scientific.
Yeah.
But sorry, I mean, go on.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
The whole spore drive feels pseudoscientific to me.
Yeah. They technobabbled, and you know what? I was like, fine, technobabble is dumb most of the time anyways. That didn't... But, like, what bothered... I mean... If you watch season 1,
right,
it's a shock death. They snap his neck, and then they go on. And then at the end of the season, even they kept getting Anthony Rapp to tweet out, no, Hugh and Stamets' story isn't done yet.
Oh,
and then at the end of the season, when Hugh saves them from the mirror universe and guides them back to the real universe, they had everybody's, trotted back out to say, see, we told you that we were going somewhere with that. And then everybody else was like, fuck you, you still buried your gaze.
Right.
And then after that, they were like, no, but wait, their story still isn't done, we promise. And this episode is kind of, for me, I'm glad they brought him back. The technobabble way, it's like, fine. And then the first time I watched this episode, I was like, oh, this is a good episode. So then I rewatched it again before we're recording tonight, and all the holes and the weird turns of logic and everything really, really got back up on me. And I'd seen tweets from the writers and stuff where they're like, oh, it was so hard to break this story.
Yeah.
And
I believe that.
I imagine it was. And we're so excited to see how it turned out. So I could see, this goes back to kind of my problem with Star Trek Discovery as a whole. Like, they broke this story and they found a way to do it. And I could see, like, The Room breaking this story, but then they broke this episode separate from the rest of the episodes. So, like, the things that make this episode make sense, just forget about stuff that happened in previous episodes. Like, or even, like Stamets being the evil captain that May is so angry at.
Right. Is gone.
That.
Yeah.
Right. The comet that somehow was the catalyst for May to appear actually didn't have any, or the asteroid.
Yeah.
That actually had nothing to do with anything,
I do actually have something from the first season that ties into this.
Oh.
So when they return from the mirror universe, you actually do see a single spore leave the room and land on Tilly's uniform. So
right, but
I think I mentioned that Horton hears a who.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you did mention. Okay, never mind.
Right, but it does. Yeah, it is brought on by like her getting blasted by that chunk of rock, and then May shows up.
Right.
So I guess that was supposed to be a red herring.
It feels lazy.
And even in this episode, to jump to the end when they're like, well, we can't just get Culber back, because if we send him back, then I can't come back. That would screw up my way back to your universe, and we'll never meet again. It's like,
yeah, why?
Well, that doesn't. How the hell did you get to the universe in the first place?
Right.
Oh, because you were a mirror universe spore somehow. So that doesn't even make like that. That's another loose that I just forgot. That doesn't actually make sense.
Here's a note from that moment, from my notes on the episode. I don't get why they're using the cocoon closes it. Convenient made-up rules are convenient.
Right, because like half a scene earlier, they said, oh, that won't work because your matter is different from our matter.
Right.
And then they're like, but is it? And then she's like, well, actually, no, but I guess it would work, except it would also mean that I can't go back.
Okay.
Because reasons. It's like, what?
Does anyone understand why are there two discoveries? Does the mycelial network make a second discovery, like when they're in the blue, dead, murdered out video gamey discovery where they find Hugh? Or is it like another dimension? Like, why? What's with that? Because I didn't get where they were.
Yeah, I think
I
it was
didn't quite follow that.
I think it was just the same Discovery, but what the Discovery looks like with no people in it.
Because that was
because the computer wasn't working. Yeah,
that was they half jumped.
Right. Oh, so that was just the part that was dipped into the mushroom goo.
Right.
That was what I thought, but it's
right. And the part that the barrier was where the in between, and if they touch the barrier, and I was kind of like, oh, they called out to season 1 again, where they're like, make sure you don't touch the barrier because that's what happened on that one ship where everybody
they got corkscrewed
with the shushing Klingon. Yeah, that was a good
right.
bit, yeah.
And and that's cool that they called that out. Like, oh yeah, remember that? But would have been another way to illustrate that was like just have a red shirt die and get screwed up.
Yeah.
Like, but that costs money, I guess. I don't know.
Because I didn't remember the Glen. I have to say, sorry, I did not remember what happened to the Glen until you guys said that it was from season 1.
Well.
Yeah.
So,
Kristen, he's right here.
Oh, sorry, Glenn. I forgot about you.
Here are
so, do we do a summary? Even we're a ways into recording. Do we talk about what happened in the episode, or do we just?
Right. I was just about to say, but we've discussed a lot and kind of jumped in here. But does anybody? I guess if you want to give us a summary, Kristen, you're welcome to.
Sure, I'll try.
Because, usually I put somebody on the spot to do that.
No, I'll do my best. I don't remember exactly the order in which everything happened, but working off my notes. So previously on Star Trek Discovery, Tilly got eaten by like a poop cocoon into the mycelial network, and everyone's very sad about it. And Captain Georgiou is back, and no one cares. So Stamets decides he can get Tilly back from the mycelial network and talks everybody into sort of half going into the network so they can go get her. They set a completely arbitrary time clock. We have 1 hour to get her before the mycelial network eats the shell. And for various reasons, we have Ash Tyler back on board along with Captain Georgiou. Great. Everyone knows about Section 31 for some reason.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
We get an awkward meeting between Ash Tyler and Burnham in the cafeteria. Oh, right before that, she says, he's a good man to Captain Pike. He's like, why the fuck is this murderer on my ship? And it's like, do you remember him trying to murder you too or not? Like, the show has completely forgotten about that.
Right. Oh, that was Vogue. Ash Tyler, he's a good man and thorough.
Yeah, but she dumped him because she couldn't separate them.
Yeah,
because you
he
can't,
wasn't.
right? Because you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So anyway, the show has papered over that, so we're all supposed to forget about that. I wrote down Section 31 qualifications, smirking and lots of black leather.
Yes.
Fashion note, though we have very few good fashions on Discovery, it's kind of sad. Those are very unflattering jumpsuits, and we don't get any cool alien costumes. I did appreciate the kind of boob harness effect of Michelle Yeoh's Section 31 jumpsuit.
Yeah, she's working it.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, she's like 50. She looks amazing.
She does.
Yeah, I thought everyone was a vegan in the future, though, right? Like, they're all like, no one enslaves animals for their food, according to TNG anyway. Maybe they still eat meat now.
Yeah, Riker, right?
Yeah, but I thought, and then I was like, wait, are they all wearing like those really like sweaty, stuffy fake leather jumpsuits? Which makes them seem a lot less badass, but anyway.
Right.
Anyway, so Tilly has been kidnapped by May into this sort of like cool looking, like it looks like a blighted coral reef, kind of had destroyed mycelial network, and she says, I need you to kill a monster.
Yes.
And I'm
Drama.
like, first thing I said, the monster is Hugh, right? The monster is Hugh.
Yeah, that's what I said too. Yeah.
I actually was dumb and thought that the monster was Lorca.
Oh God, please!
Yeah.
Like that's I agree that Jason.
I thought it was like a crocodile. So I was
right. No,
I don't know. I wasn't picking up what this episode was putting down at that point.
Yeah.
But no, the monster was Hugh all along.
It was Hugh all along.
But also a tree that grows there that kills people.
Right.
But
it wasn't
also a monster that will kill everybody. The entire network. This monster is going to kill by using a tree that grows in the mycelium
that already lives there.
Yeah, and
right.
So yes, Tilly agrees to help her on the after if May promises that she'll take her back, and May promises, and she totally is not planning on keeping that promise. I think she's planning on killing her, but anyway, it doesn't happen like that. Spoiler alert! You already watched this anyway. Who cares? There's a lot of exposition about the rules of the mission to go rescue May. You can't touch the blue goo. You only have 1 hour. Whatever. Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys remember the pinky swear thing? May and Tilly pinky swear? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk about that more. Let's see. They find the monster. It's Hugh. No, sorry. Michael Burnham finds Tilly first, like really quickly. Then they find Hugh, and they're like, "Let's go back." And like, seriously, the last third of this episode is supposed to take place in 3 minutes, or 5 minutes, or something like that. It's like, wow. I wrote down.
I think in the end it ends up like 8 minutes. Like they say 5. And then mycelial gets them 3 more. So, like...
Oh, right.
Okay, so, no. I have timings on this, all right? I wrote down, Leland says, you have to hurry up. We can't hold for very much longer. 19 minutes before the end of the episode.
Yep.
Captain Giorgio adds 3 more minutes.
Yep.
15 minutes before the episode ends, right? They get out of the mycelial network. The ship gets out 9 minutes before the end. So yeah, you're right. It is about 10 minutes. It's about 10 minutes. That's supposed to be 5. So it just takes forever. And I wrote so many times. It was like, why is everyone still talking? Why just shut up? There are these like repetitive, badly written, emotional scenes that are like, no, like you should just get out. There's no sense of urgency where there really needs to be a sense of urgency. Anyway, so So Stamets has to persuade Culber that it's really him, and then there's some bullshit about energy not being created and destroyed, which is true, but it would be the energy like contained in Hugh Culber's atoms, and if it actually got turned into energy, his matter got turned into energy, it would be like a supernova-style explosion that would have destroyed the whole ship and everything in the sector. But whatever. So, and then they try to take him back. They can't because writing, and then they decide he's going to go through the cocoon, and everyone lives happily ever after.
Right. Because.
And then what happens after that? Admiral Cornwall is there, and there's more Section 31 bullshit that I didn't care about.
Yeah.
But the next time on Star Trek Discovery looked really good. So I want to see Saru's planet. And that was... Yeah. Did I miss anything? Did I miss something?
No, well, Admiral Cornwall says nation building is very hard because that's what Section 31 does, which is the whole point of Star Trek was that they were supposed to not be in the nation building, right? That's what the prime directive is like, we're not going to interfere with that shit. But Section 31 interferes because they're outside. Well, I don't know. The Section 31 stuff...
But they don't. They're building their own nation, right? Because they have not interacted with a single alien outside of the Federation this entire season. Even the alien planet in the Space Friends Solve Space Problems episode, which was the 3rd one. Even that one, they were just humans. They were humans that had been magically transported, right?
Right.
We haven't been to an alien planet at all.
Well, we will next episode, I think.
That's right.
We get Kelpie. But
I forgot to say, when Hugh comes out of the cocoon, my note for that is, well, there's a butt.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
there was a butt. Yeah.
They're showing that.
It's a nice butt.
Got to see them buns.
Yeah.
First Star Trek butt, maybe.
Tain't misbehaving.
Is that another Star Trek first? Is that the first Star Trek butt? Do we see any? No, I think we see a naked Q at some point in TNG.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, if that seems like an appropriate Star Trek first for this episode. First butt.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are definitely a bunch of Orion strippers in the first season, which, maybe doesn't quite qualify, but it's very close.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they say, the asteroid they found... Section 31 went back by there, or the Federation did, and it's full of tachyons, people.
Oh, yeah, I think you called time travel, didn't you, Wade?
I guess.
Time travel.
I think you did. It wasn't surprising, but...
Yeah.
Okay.
Tachyons are the unobtainium of Star Trek particles.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think ever since Watchmen, they've been, universally... even I, when they said the word tachyon, I was like, oh, it's time travel, because,
right.
Watchmen made a big thing of that.
And another example of Michael Burnham's stupid logic. I've keyed in, this logic means exactly what I think it does, because Hugh is...
Oh, he made armor. That was what proved that he was in the network, was the fact that he made armor, and not the fact that they saw him.
Well,
right. Well, he's showing motivational, intentional thought.
Well, but wait, they're seeing May, so...
But he could be an illusion,
seeing him
right?
isn't enough.
Yeah.
Right. Motivational, intentional thought means... Well, it means it doesn't want to die, and it's responding to its environment.
Right?
That means it's alive? But
isn't that exactly what May's doing? May's motivated to save her people, so she goes and gets Tilly.
Right.
So,
but that proves May's alive too, because she doesn't know what crying is.
She's a spore. She's a spore illusion.
She's a type of life.
There's no evidence that Hugh is not a spore illusion, you know? Like
right. Oh, yeah. Well, it's definitely him because it's thinking, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You mean like the spore illusion is doing?
Yeah, I mean,
the
it's
same
like,
thing? Okay.
it's like they're writing in, see, she's a science officer. She's using Vulcan logic to come to a conclusion. It's like, what? No, that's not right.
Well, and I think this is something I kind of was dwelling on this week when I was like finishing up the first season. I think the key problem with Michael Burnham as a character is that she doesn't really, like, the writers don't really show us any of her personality beyond the fact that, like, she's very logical. She was raised on Vulcan, and
They tell us she's logical, but they don't show us she's emoting the hell out of everything.
No, I mean, they show us badly. Like, they show us, it's those moments. It's the, he made body armor, so he must really be him. Whatever they decided about May last, like, it's all this, like, right, that 2 episodes about Tilly when she's like, oh, like, it didn't know what blah, blah, blah was, so it's not in your head, whatever, like, it's like she makes these logic jumps that the show is like, look, see, that's what a Vulcan would do, and we're like, no, a Vulcan would be fucking smart, like, they'd have this idea and then run a fucking test, like, they wouldn't just decide and then say, this is true, and
I proved it with
syllogism.
Analogy. Yeah.
It's like Encyclopedia Brown level logic. Yeah.
Right. She can't be wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And like the second she's wrong about any of these summations, the whole like basis for her character the show's built up comes crumbling down.
Well, and I think this is something that they could maybe it's tougher to do now that there's a season and change of established writing for her, but I feel like a direction they should have gone with Michael, the idea that she's a human raised in Vulcan society, and the way they've portrayed it so far is like, oh, she's very, again, she mimics pretty much all of the qualities we expect in Vulcan characters. I
disagree with that premise again.
From what I've seen for the first season and what I've seen of this season, I think they want to communicate that, yes, she's very, like, she has very deeply held beliefs. She does obviously display emotion, but they don't ever really play with the conflict of the Vulcan upbringing versus her, human nature.
Yeah.
And it's more like they just flip a switch. And I feel like what would be more interesting is if you really saw what the blending of those two sides looked like.
Yeah.
In a person.
They name check the conflict constantly, but they don't.
Exactly. They tell, they don't show, and that's a key recurring issue.
Yeah, and that's very much what Spock's arc is as a character throughout Star Trek. Right, it's very much him learning to reconcile emotion and logic and become kind of a whole person. And we haven't seen Spock yet, and I'm not eager to see him, partly because I really don't feel like this is a part it's not a part of his life that's interesting. Like, we have a story for him, we have an ending for him, pretty much. Like, he at the end in the Next Generation, he goes to Romulus to help with their peace process and is, I think, pretty much instantly killed. Probably doesn't live much longer than that. Or if you take the movies,
well, doesn't he live to
go back in time and make Zachary Quinto and Chris Pike be friends.
Yeah.
No, Chris Pine. Sorry, wrong Chris.
Right.
Well, yeah, whatever. But this part. Oh well, he's just a young asshole. He's supposed to be like 25 or 26 or something like that, right? It's like I don't.
Yeah.
Why do we need to see this other than some suit at CBS thought this would make more people watch this, right? And Michael is like same lack of thought into why would you want to care about a character. Like, let's give her all of these qualities that are great on paper, but we can't make them live. She's a kind of dead character in a way that almost everyone else has more vitality and more life than her. And it's not the fault of the actress. She's doing what she can with the material, right? And I thought the Tilly Michael stuff worked really well. But
absolutely.
Her as a whole, what is a personality trait that she has? Right? What is she like?
Right. Yeah.
Can you describe her? I can't describe her.
Yeah. No, I really can't either. She believes in
truth, justice, and the Federation.
But that's
I will say in this episode, for all the detractions we're giving Michael Burnham as a character, I actually did like Sonequa Martin Green in this. Like when she's holding the phaser against Michelle Yao and that stuff. Like, I thought she was doing a fine job.
No, for sure.
The episode opens with the first line of this is, words define us. Yeah, that's what words do. It's like they open up with a Webster's defines people as. Like,
do other Treks do voiceover? Like, is voiceover like a long-standing Trek tradition?
With Kirk.
Captain's log.
Well, no, not in that way. Not in that. This is a voiceover of a movie. Like it is traditional for a Star Trek episode to start with Captain's log. Here's what's going on in this episode, right? But it's not.
Boy, I hate the voiceover.
Yeah.
Voiceover is such like a lazy way to tell the audience what they're supposed to be feeling.
Right.
And it's like the laziest writing,
And this season's all about faith and religion, right? Because she's like, well, Tilly might not be dead. I want to have faith, but I don't know. Like, no, it's not faith. You're describing hope.
Yeah.
That's not religious faith. And they're like, no, we have to key into the season's about faith and religion, so we have to make it about faith. But it's like, no, you're talking about hope.
Yeah, what's that definition of faith? Like, what is it? Hope for things, I can't remember what it is, but evidence of things not seen, right? Like, they don't, but she doesn't, she doesn't believe that Tilly's alive until there is evidence, so, I don't know.
Right.
Is it possible that it's been like 3 weeks since Tilly was taken? Because everybody's acting like her being dead is a foregone conclusion. In a world where people just disappear from one place and show up in another, that's exactly what she did. And it seems like everybody is like, Tilly is definitely dead, except Stamets.
Well, and let's remember that Tilly is a cadet. She is like a university student. Like, imagine you are in fourth year university and you're on a like assignment and you die. Like, is your mom not showing up with like torches and shit to be like, where the fuck is my kid? How did you murder my kid on like theoretically a learning experience, right? So, I mean, this is part of the thing like,
we know that Tilly has an overpowering mother.
She does have the overbearing mom that wants to like do shit with your hair, which I have a lot of experience with.
Yeah.
She is also the mom who is like, she's got your back when shit goes down. Right, she wants you to do something with your hair, but she is also there to breathe fire when you need to.
They're on a secret mission. They probably haven't contacted her mom yet, but they're like, there's this big nasty scab in the middle of the spore engineering, so I could see why they think she's dead. But
but it seems like they've decided she's dead.
Yeah,
right.
But
Pike is straight up like, what do you mean she might be alive? And it's like, hold
but
on,
Stamets
what you're planning her funeral, man.
But no, the show has completely forgotten about Tilly being a cadet, and I think like Mary Wiseman, I looked it up. She's 33, so she's playing a 22-year-old or whatever, and it's fine. It looks fine, but like the pinky swear particularly, like it read really wrong because in my experience, ambitious young women don't want to act young. They want to act grown up and mature. Tilly should be trying to be poised and mature and grown up instead of the kind of girlishness that she portrays a lot, which could be like, I don't know. It's writing and it's an acting choice, but it feels really off to me.
Right. Well, I mean, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, she's alone in the Mushroom Kingdom with her childhood best friend, so that's maybe why she feels like the pinky swear could be important.
She's regressing to junior high. Okay.
Basically.
Fair enough.
But
I feel like that is one that like maybe because that I liked the pinky swear moment like when it came back because that's the kind of like stuff that every show does that always gets me. But it does feel like there could have been like a line just like, oh, you and I used to, oh, right, not you, but May, May, well, it's you, but not you. Oh, it's okay, whatever, let's go.
I did like the bit where they complimented each other's science ability.
Yeah.
Like, that felt really real. It was like,
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, you are really good at science. So are you. You did kidnap me, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that they did make an attempt to, like, have them bond in this episode. Mm-hmm. I will say their last moment at the end where she was like, oh, but I'll never see May again if this happens, or like Tilly seemed genuinely broken up about the prospect of not seeing May again, and it's like that felt a little forced. Like, it's one thing to be like, I want things to like be good between us, and like you want to make things work out for everyone, but to have Tilly being like, not my best friend, it's like the end of the it's the end of the Planet of the Apes musical where Troy McClure says, I love you, Dr. Zaius.
Right. I mean, it goes back to my like they broke the script and they gave it to Kirsten Beyer, who had to write the script. And it feels like a showrunner is supposed to go back and make sure it matches up with the scripts they broke before. But like, if they had a consistent characterization of her and May's relationship that lasted more than one episode, it would have helped to have her be upset at the end. But every episode with May has had a different approach to that relationship.
Right.
So there's no consistency to have it really pay off at the end, which is annoying.
Yeah, they want to have this breakneck pacing, and they also want to have like this strong emotional resonance, and like no, you don't get to like they did like the pinky promise, and like the episode in general, like it, the second she stops being mad at her, like they take the smallest steps, like I think the biggest steps you possibly can in the short time you have of the time in that episode that they spend together, of like, oh look, they're not so different, they both science. She taught her to pinky swear and what fall in means, and like they've developed a relationship so that they feel like they've I think they've done all the work they could do in building that relationship, considering the decision they made that this arc is over in the time of like 2 full episodes.
Well, that's like they're doing the work they need, but like I think it goes to the behind the scenes.
Yes. Yeah.
The mess, especially this is the last, if these episodes were created in order and they didn't move them around, this is when shit was really hitting the fan with the Aaron Harberts and Gretchen Berg, because this is the last one.
Oh shit.
It's after episode 5 where they got the boot. So,
okay.
I mean, it's a showrunner's job to, the room breaks the scripts and then they give them to a writer, but there's no, and it sounds from everything I know about behind the scenes, that voice, the showrunner's voice, to really make sure that all the pieces fit together is a little bit, maybe it was in disarray. And this is around where Alex Kurtzman's coming in to be the full-time showrunner. But, I mean, knowing from his oeuvre, he doesn't really give a shit about all that making as much sense as as getting all the action sequences in or whatever.
So here is a great place for me to drop in with my theory about why Discovery is not coming together as a show, because this ties into it really well.
Okay.
So this is my opinion, every artwork or cultural production, even if it doesn't rise to the level of art, it has in it a theory of what people are like. What is a person? Not even what is a good person, but just what is a person and what is life like. These don't have to be good things, right? Like I've talked before about 24, like in Calling Into the Show. And 24, like the theory of a person and the theory of the world are really abhorrent. That is some Lenny Riefenstahl shit in 24.
Right.
But it's consistent and it's a real perspective, right? And that's what that is. That's a perspective. Having an idea of those two things. Discovery does not have a consistent perspective. It seems different from episode to episode. Like bringing Hugh back, like I think that would have been a lot better if they had not been able to bring him back. Like that's a great sad love story. That's Orpheus, or go through hell to get your love back and then you lose them at the last moment. Right.
Yes.
Like but to go through it's cheap, right? It's you go through this hellish experience and then everything's fixed, right?
Right.
Discovery's inability to stick with the one idea or the other suggests to me that their perspective is one thing. We want to monetize Star Trek fandom and make more money from them. That's all I can think of. The only thing that makes sense is that's all they're in it for. And that's cool, right? Like that is what most TV is.
Right.
It is just, let's put some shit on a screen that people will sit in front of and allow us to sell ads for them or make them buy our streaming service. And I'm not judging that. I watched today with my kids, I watched something that was basically a reality TV show about puppy ownership.
Right.
It was not any kind of, but it had a perspective. It was like owning a puppy is hard and these people are fucking it up in these various ways, right? So that's the real problem. And maybe we were talking about these fights over the showrunners and these people coming in and out have made it unable for it to develop that perspective and that consistency. There's so many shitty Star Trek episodes of every other series, right? TNG, there are so many horrible TNG episodes. Wade, you know how many bad DS9 episodes there are, right?
Yes, I have fault.
Yes,
I've done some yelling on that front.
You have been in the trenches about them and defending the show even in spite of these things. And the reason why I can still love the other Star Treks, and I have no love for Discovery. I can enjoy Discovery, but I don't love it. Mm-hmm. The reason why I still have the love for these other Star Treks is that I can identify with their perspective. And I can see something in them that resonates with me as a human being with an ethical perspective in the world. And I don't see that in Discovery. I see a flashy show with really good special effects and boring fashion that is trying to get my eyeballs for 48 minutes a week. And it is just, if you don't have something to say, it is not interesting to an audience. If you have nothing to say other than we can make some cool looking shit, that's just not that interesting. And that is sad that this is where we are with Star Trek. And I really hope that out of these other shows that they're coming up with, maybe we can develop something else. And maybe Disco can get there too. Mm-hmm. Maybe next season they will settle down. They will have a consistent writer's room. They will have a consistent showrunner. And they will develop a voice and a perspective that has something. But now it's just not there. And that's depressing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great observation. I think that it feels a lot like that first episode of this season to me. Like, it's that observation that, like, this is not a prestige show. This is trying to be one. And I think that's where what you're saying comes from. I think a lot of that comes from this idea that, like, they have to make what is considered good in modern television, which is, like this serialized arc. And, why isn't this show just NCIS with Star Trek? Like, why isn't this just procedural? I think that CBS has a lot of really long running procedurals. Like, they're good at it. They know how to make a procedural. They know how to make that work. If this show was just that, like just a compelling group of characters flying through space, going to planets, getting into trouble, developing relationships, not having to feel like compelled to create this bigger thing, which, like, if they pulled off, awesome, like I could see a lot of what they're doing, and like that's the problem. You can see the seams. Right. But you can tell, like, if these seams had come together, maybe with like the help of one united writer's room and therefore one united perspective, like this could have been like a good execution of what they're doing. Instead, there's been so much turnover and so much like stilted, weird dialogue and forgetting your plots and like just ignoring things you've done in the past. Well, that's what procedurals do, and it works because no one cares.
Yeah.
Right. And like even Alex Kurtzman has made procedurals for CBS.
Yeah.
Like good ones, but they're what they are. Like,
and I don't care about the canon stuff, right? I don't care if like the things look different in one show or another. That is throughout Star Trek, they rewrite canon all the time. That's to be expected, right? But I do care that they don't care, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, well, okay, Vulcan,
it's disrespect.
Why are Vulcans super strong? They have this super strong, they have like 2-3 times the gravity of Earth, right? That's why they're super strong. It's like, okay, well, shouldn't that do something? Like, shouldn't Michael Burnham be like fucked up looking because she grew up on this planet with super gravity? Or shouldn't she have to take like, shouldn't this be a thing? No, this isn't a thing. It's just like, okay, we get bowl cut Spock and cute little baby Michael Burnham, but like there is no, that the problems like that stuff, like that bothers me. Okay. I don't know if I'm going anywhere with this, but yeah.
No. It's respect for your own, what you're doing, like the story you're telling, like not paying attention to the canon of other Treks. Like I get, and there are certainly some fans that don't care for that. And I understand that. I get that this is a fucking minefield, but like you have to have respect for your own canon, like
not
your
the canon,
show.
but like the rules of the universe, is like if the rules change, then
right. Because like the thing is, the writers, they actually know enough of them know Star Trek well enough to I could say I don't really care about the canon stuff. I don't. The Section 31 stuff,
that bugs me too.
Kind of bugs me a little bit. I mean, I'm doing my best to get over it.
Why does everyone know about Section 31 all of a sudden? I mean, I guess they could have all forgotten by the time it comes up, because chronologically it doesn't come up until, it comes up again in DS9, like 100 years in the future from this.
Right.
And, like, maybe 100 years ago there were secret societies and secret organizations, or, like, in finger quotes, secret, that everyone knew about and we've forgotten about in the intervening time, right? I guess that's possible, but, like, you can just show someone a badge and they're like, ooh, Section 31. It's like, what? I thought you guys were, like, CIA Black Ops. Yeah. Secret, more secret than that.
They wear those badges.
I know.
Yeah,
they
that's wild.
wear them.
They have a black leather boob harness uniform.
Yeah.
Right. And I go back and forth. That's the thing. These people know Star Trek. They can know enough to reference, to know the corners to explain away things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't bother me when Pike gave his whole thing about gutting the holograms from the Enterprise. Yeah. I actually like that a lot. You know,
that's cute.
Do that fun work. That's cute. But then every time they find ways to make the canon excuse what they do instead of trying to fit the canon into the writing that they're doing. It's a explain away. It's not additive using the canon. It's like, it's just negation.
Yeah. This is DS9's fault, though. This is a DS9 problem because DS9 did this with the Tribble episode, which is a beautiful episode.
Fight.
What was it called? I forgot. Trials and Tribulations.
Trials and Tribulations. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It is
lovely. Pretty good episode.
It is a lovely tribute to TOS and to the whole Star Trek experience. But there's a line in it where someone I forget who asks Worf, he's like, "Wait, why the fuck do Klingons look different than they do now?" And Worf kind of huffs and says, "We never speak of it." Right. And instead, like, it shouldn't have happened, right? It's just like the only way you could have that work is like Klingons are Klingons and Worf is in the shot looking like a TOS era Klingon. You know what I mean? And when he's in the modern shots,
See, I think his "we don't talk about it" is the perfect way. Don't talk about it. And then Enterprise, I know, comes back and has a whole thing.
No, because it made it real. It made the difference of appearance in Klingons real within the world of the show, instead of a different representation of what Klingons look like in different times. Yeah. Which is the fan theory, right? Is that, like, the Star Trek shows that start with the captain's log is like, this is like a reconstruction of events based on these diaries, based on the captain's log of this voyage, right? It's not supposed to be what it really looks like. It's just a presentation. Just like your, local theater's presentation of Romeo and Juliet isn't supposed to look like what Verona looked like in the 14th century, right? So it's, but make it reifying, right? That's the fancy academic word by for making a thing real by pretending it's real. Reifying the difference between Klingons in different eras.
Right.
That opened the door to this bullshit, and that was a big mistake Enterprise built on. But yeah, it is DS9's fault.
I think it's fine to do it, make a cute wink to it. Like, that's all they were intending to do. They weren't intending to have it be a thing.
Well, they opened up a can of worms, didn't they?
You're right that it opened the worms, and maybe they shouldn't have done that. There's definitely a case to be made.
Well,
but then to double down on it, I think there's a case to be made. Like, we just don't talk, whatever, haha. And, I used to get real mad about Enterprise having the gall to do that, even though I never watched it, and now everybody gets mad about that all the time.
Well, I'm not gonna be down on Enterprise because Enterprise gets people being down on it all the time. It's not that bad. Like, my analogy for Enterprise, if you haven't watched it, have you ever been to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan? Nope. Well, okay, if you ever go, I mean, if you don't have, my sister moved there, and the first time I went there, I was like, well, this is going to be really shitty, the first time I went to visit her there. And I was very pleasantly surprised, because it's totally an okay place, right? If you go to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, expecting it to be like New York City, you are going to be very, very disappointed.
Right.
If you go into it expecting it to be like, I don't know, what's a really shitty place in America?
Florida. Sorry, Sean.
Florida. If you're expecting it to be like Jacksonville, Florida, you're like, well, this is great. There's like a nice downtown, and there's some nice restaurants and a brewery and a nice place to walk along the water, and like, so that's how you got to go into Enterprise. Don't expect it to be great. Expect it to be mediocre.
I like the pilot a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So, just so we can quote you, Enterprise is the Florida of Star Trek shows.
No, it's a Saskatoon, Saskatchewan of
Oh, okay.
What's a mediocre U.S. city? What's one place that's like all right, but like not amazing? Cincinnati?
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Okay, sure. It's the Dallas of Star Trek shows. It's like better than you'd expect, but not actually good.
That's actually a pretty accurate description. No, actually, I want to walk that back just because I actually have family that lives in Dallas, and I don't want them getting mad at me. Dallas is a perfectly fine place. It's actually gotten a lot nicer over the years, so I'm going to swap that out and say, I don't know. Oh, shit.
Yeah, it is perfectly nice. That's what she just said.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Okay, then fine. Okay, then we're good.
Just don't expect too much from it.
Yeah. You got somebody, you afraid Dallas is going to come after you?
No, honestly, I think my sister might listen to this podcast, and she lives in Dallas.
I'm so sorry, Dallas.
So if you do, I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything.
The Dallas Mafia does not appreciate your comments.
I think I've been to Dallas and I liked it just fine, but I was probably about 11 years old at the time, so I have no quarrel with Dallas.
I've been to the airport.
It's a very big airport, and again, a perfectly nice city. I grew up outside of Dallas, so I get to say these things. So anyway, but I had a Star Trek thing I wanted to say. So Kristin, I really liked your thesis that every Star Trek show needs to have a thesis, and I think obviously all the chaos behind the scenes has kind of led to this being lost, but I think I have an idea of what. If not what the thesis for Discovery is, what the thesis should be.
Oh, great.
Something that they've kind of dwelled on, that they've explored in a lot of big plot points, is the idea that adhering to the ideals of the Federation is very hard in a lot of situations. Like the whole thing with it's the whole season 1 gambit of the Klingon planet, we're not going to go this far because we're better than that. And that was not, I don't think, executed super well. Because the whole idea that they hire the Empress of the Terran universe to take out the Klingons, and then they're like, well, we didn't want you to really do it. We just wanted you to, kind of do it. But I think in that there is a really a great
Even Michael says she has a end of the season thesis statement. I believe in the Federation or in Starfleet, and you're right that might be what the thesis is trying to sell for season. The problem is they don't actually say what it is. It's empty platitudes.
Yeah.
But I think that could be, if they're really kind of going back to the drawing board about how to, structure everything, I think that's the idea you should center the show on. The idea that the Federation is built on these ideals, and the real, the realities of the universe are constantly challenging them on that. And I don't know. It's
Glen,
kind of,
I have a whole podcast about Deep Space Nine, and that kind of makes that same point.
Yes, I was just about to say that that's what Deep Space Nine is about the compromises and difficulties of living up to a high ideal in intense circumstances. That's literally it.
Okay, well, everyone
go watch Deep Space Nine.
So,
Glenn, should we start a Deep Space Nine podcast?
I think we should.
I think that might be a crowded marketplace.
I will destroy you. But no, come on.
We're a little late to the jump, but I think we
do
know
it.
less
Do it.
and are less interesting than Wade, so I think it'll go really well.
I do it, man. Do it. No, I'll even be a guest.
There you go.
I'll just scream at you the whole time.
Yeah, only on the episodes you hate.
What's a good Asylum mockbuster name for rules of acquisition? The laws of getting shit.
Right. The laws of getting shit. That's very good.
Go for it.
I'm writing it down.
And it'll be 10 minutes of podcast and 40 minutes of ads for Casper mattresses.
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
Yeah, you have my blessing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and my curse.
All right. I think Max Fun is calling, so I gotta go answer.
Don't get me started on.
I was gonna say, I know. Sorry, that's an open wound. I apologize.
Yeah. There's only room enough in Greenpoint for one Deep Space Nine podcast.
Is there? Is that true?
Well, yeah, one of those people, used to live in Greenpoint and then moved to LA.
Oh, okay, good. So you drove them out of town, is what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah. Good.
Come at me, bros. I'll take all your friendly fire.
We love you, Wade.
Oh, I love you guys too.
Yeah.
I'd like to. No, but.
Well, I'm not prepared to go so far. But
right.
I'm not prepared to go so far, emotionally speaking, but I very much enjoyed this conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
We Canadians are very reserved.
Yeah. And if Discovery were to take the tack that you're saying and be like, oh, that's the story we want to tell, it would not be the first time that Discovery would say, we're doing this thing that Star Trek didn't do, except that Deep Space Nine did it already.
Yeah.
They do that. That's all the stuff they claim to be doing half the time. Deep Space Nine already did it.
Well, Discovery is at its best when it does things Star Trek has done already, right? Like the Space Friends Solve Space Problems episode, right? When they saved the planet of improbable humans from radiation. That could have been any Star Trek, right? Like, they could have done that in TNG, TOS. They could have done that on literally any Star Trek series. And that's great. And that is a wonderful, great old Star Trek tradition. I don't know if you've ever played, it's not exactly a game, but it's a thing you can do where it's like you write it, you come up with an episode description that could fit more than one episode in series because they do repeat themselves, right? Like, the crew goes to a planet that all the people are holograms. That's like at least 3 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They accidentally go back in time and have to and sire a whole new civilization and then meet their great-grandchildren. Like, that's happened twice, right? So it's like they're at their best when they're derivative because they don't know what they're fucking doing yet. So when they pull on old material, they get something good.
Yeah.
When they're like, well, we're going to tell 8 billion stories in one and try to further this. The plot of the season, the overarching plot is the Search for Spock, which was a movie, and Infinity War, which was a movie in another franchise. It's like, well, both of those things, we know how they end, and I don't care, right? It's like they did this really well with Doctor Who in the new season, I thought. It's like they pulled back from this like apocalyptic big stake stuff that no one is going to believe in because this show's been on the air for literally 50 years, right? So it's like, okay, no, instead of doing that, let's just do some monsters of the week and we'll have a big bad, like 90s TV, like in Buffy, right? We'll have a big bad that comes back at the end of the season. Like, that's a structure that actually works pretty well. Like the high serialized takes so much, it's so hard to pull off that, if you can't do that, well, okay, you have a big villain that pops up every few, we get a scene every episode or so, and then you have the big boss fight at the end. But in between, it's just like, okay, we're gonna, we'll help some aliens with their irrigation problems. And okay, we'll get involved in this interstellar war we shouldn't be involved in. Right. And, Michael Burnham will have a one-off holiday romance. And then, Tilly will have to do her Starfleet exams and she'll fail something and feel bad about it. That could be like some kind of thing they could do. And they'd probably do better at it than what they're doing right here. Their reach has exceeded their grasp. So.
Well, I think that's what's so, I'm so frustrated. Because, most of these procedurals just happen because it's the people's jobs. Yeah. Cops, hospitals, lawyers. These things work for procedurals because their job's different every day. Star Trek works as a procedural because they travel to planets and find new planets, and planets have problems. I get it. This show, this season, in that first episode, presents a structure for the procedural. They are being drawn to places by these orbs, and the places end up being people who need help. That's dope. I think that's cool. That's a cool. Why isn't that just this season? Why aren't they just doing that? And then, in the penultimate episode, they meet this angel that Michael keeps seeing. And it's an angel that, wants to help people, but turns out to be evil. And they have to stop it, and they're conflicted about it, because the angel's helping people, but it wants to do this and stuff. They have the show. The show's there. The bones are there.
All right.
That is literally the plot of a season of 1980 Doctor Who. That is literally what happens in the Key to Time arc of 6 episodes in Doctor Who.
Old Doctor Who is fucking great.
Yeah,
so
old
I'm
Doctor
on board.
Who is great and much cheaper to produce, I'm sure, though, with less, we're sword fighting.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they need to be. Well, yeah, it's too many cooks.
They need to be hip
Game
and
of Thrones in space,
right?
Even though The Expanse.
But we have Game of Thrones in space. It's called The Expanse. That is Game of Thrones in space.
Yeah, it's about
right, and written by Game of Thrones writers, and they stole a lot of the. Well, they didn't steal, but they a lot of the visual effects are very reminiscent. Incidentally, being from Toronto, Both The Expanse and Star Trek Discovery are filmed at Pinewood Studios, which is really close to my house. And no, I have never gone and staked it out in order to see if, like, you know, Clint Fandango going to work at 9:30 in the morning or anything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of overlap with, you know, crew and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly sure the Saru short trek was filmed on the Toronto beach. So I couldn't find any information on it. I did watch that because I was curious about. I didn't watch any of the short treks.
Yeah.
But I was curious after seeing the teaser for next week, and I was like, oh, I should probably do that. And I was like, wait a second, I know where that is.
That's funny.
I probably remember the weekend when they shut down the beach because I live close to the beach. Anyway, it's nice living in Toronto.
All right. Well, I think maybe we should get around to the wrapping up.
Yeah.
You mean I can't shout about how Star Trek Discovery should be NCIS Discovery anymore?
I believe I think you've said enough.
I think it has to choose. Here's my final thought. It has to choose. Is it going to be NCIS Discovery and just be like, we're a mediocre Star Trek procedural, which is totally a thing you could do and I would watch for sure.
I'd watch it. Yeah.
Or are we going to go like full out balls to the wall, high end? Are we going to be what's the best? I don't know. What's supposed to be the best of the Golden Age shows? Mad Men? Are we Mad Men in space?
Don't say that here because they're Breaking Bad people.
Okay.
Of which I am one.
I've never watched either of those shows. We're Breaking Space Bad. Okay, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna spend a shit ton of money and be artistically rigorous and just fucking do this shit and make artistic choices instead of trying to make everyone happy. Like, you gotta choose one.
That's what I wanted when we decided that when James and Hugh and I decided we wanted to do a Discovery Star Trek podcast. It was like, you know what I'm hoping for? I want the Deadwood of, because those guys fucking
Deadwood,
love Milt so much, and because Deadwood for me is like that's the epitome. Even
I can agree with that.
I would too.
You know, and then Brian Fuller, but I thought maybe it might be because but then obviously we didn't get that. And for me, like going through, I actually enjoyed this episode a lot. Just watching surface level, I think that's how the best way to enjoy Discovery. Just like, I had a fun time.
Yeah.
But then the second watch, it's all the pieces, like it's all the broad strokes maybe, and the veneer might be entertaining, but then like when I try to analyze the pieces of it, it's when it really starts to like irk me. And it's not the canon stuff. It's that it's ignoring the every 2 episodes that they come at these plot elements from a completely different angle.
Mm-hmm.
It's jarring.
Yeah. Well,
I want to say I get why like we didn't focus on this stuff. I agree that it was clunky and a reminder of the stuff that the show's doing badly. But like I like the way like in the beginning you see like the way the Pike Michael relationship is progressing, and I like it. Like I like the two of them. Mm-hmm. I think they've developed like a shorthand between those two characters and like a relationship, and you can tell that there's like genuine trust there in those characters and a relationship. And I like the Pike Ash Tyler, that's his name, right?
Yeah. Right. He hates him.
I like that stuff. Yeah, I think that it's just fun that he like and we understand why. Like we
right. He's a murderer.
Right, like he's right to he expresses it on it's just like a very human level of distrust and dislike and discomfort, and I like all of that. I think they're like, I don't know, sometimes this show does little character moments well, and the writing doesn't get in the way, and like ignoring old stuff that they shouldn't ignore doesn't get in the way, and like people just talk to people. Like every time Michelle Yeoh is on the screen, I'm like, I want this show. Like I want her talking to I want to follow her around and watch her talk to everybody, because every interaction is better if she's in it. And
but Sean,
like I don't care about all the Section 31 problems I have if it means I'm watching Michelle Yeoh.
Well, which I think is a spinoff you're getting, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
Right.
I disagree, honestly. I find her character quite dull. I think she's great, but
hot take.
But no, Mira Georgiou is boring. She's like a Scooby-Doo villain. She's just like, ooh, I'm bad. I'm being bad. I would rather have old Captain Georgiou back, who was a complicated character with moral choices instead of
I would rather have old Georgiou back too. But like, I'm willing to watch Michelle.
See, that's it, right? That's me. I don't know Giorgio.
Well, none of us did because I killed her off.
Yeah,
she's
dies
not
really
in it very
fast.
much.
Yeah. But she like she was a character you could want more of.
But they tell us over and over again how great she was.
But guys, I just want to interrupt and just let you know that I have an update on Spock's location, so we have to stop all the interesting things we're talking about.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That's how this episode starts.
Yeah, it is. That's how every episode starts. Where's Spock? Here he is. Now we can have the show.
He's like fucking Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah.
I will leave you with my final thought for Discovery, which is one thing. If they can't fix the writing, I want to see some crazy alien costumes. A great tradition of Star Trek from TOS on is let's cast some people as aliens or even just humans living in space, and let's make them wear the weirdest shit we can find.
Yeah.
Like I want to see a 12-inch wide medallion necklace on a Vulcan. I want to see a lady wearing a piece of lame artfully draped across her boobs and leaving her back exposed. I would like to see some crazy, if I have anything to plug, I don't know if you're going to ask for plugs.
I was just about to ask if,
I'm not going to plug anything of my own, but there is a Star Trek fashion blog called Fashion It So.
That sounds fun.
sttngfashion.tumblr.com if I have the URL right. Not written by me or anyone I know. Just and it is a fashion blog on the wonderful and amazing fashions of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Right.
So if you want to go and waste some time, go and do that there.
That is a good one.
Discovery needs something other than like a hoodie and a really boring uniform for its people to wear. If they can't do anything else, they can do that.
All right. Yeah. And how is that Greek place, John? Do you need to plug that again?
Oh, man, everybody. Little Greek. It's a chain. I don't know how widespread. Next week, I'll have more information on how widespread this chain is. I can give you some locations, some cities. It's really good. The Hero Pita,
I'm going to give you 5 seconds every episode to plug that. But
I'll be ready.
But no more, and then I'm going to cut you off.
Set. I'm good.
Oh, and if you want to meet some crew members who work at Pinewood Studios, my partner did meet someone who worked on The Expanse at a bar on Queen Street in Toronto called The Hitch. So go hang out there if you want an in on
That's so funny.
Maybe meeting someone who held a boom mic at some point in time over Clint Fandango.
Hey, those are the people that know what's going on.
That's right.
Yeah. So if you need to put out a YouTube video about how it's not canon and being prime, and don't
do that. No one cares.
I don't, but yeah. And Glenn, you got that QED&D show, right?
Yep, I host it with you. You're literally there with me every month, so
yeah.
It's like you keep forgetting about it, and it's breaking my heart every single time. It's a QED&D in Astoria, Queens, at a venue called QED. It's very clever. At QED and D on Twitter.
All right.
I guess you can also download my album on Bandcamp. So if you go to Kristin Mueller-Heaslip.bandcamp.com, you could buy my EP, Submerging Artist. You Can Die of Exposure. This was a joke album I made as merch for a show, but it's actually pretty good if you want to hear my cover. My acoustic voice piano cover of Paranoid Android. This is your place to go. So.
That's the shit I wanted.
Yup, sold.
All right, you and 7 others. There you go.
I think if anybody who wants to give us a tagline to go out on, I believe you're the one that called in and coined the phrase "Peldar Joy, assholes." Was that right?
That's right. I think actually Hugh said it on the podcast, but I did say it in a call. So sure, I'll take credit for that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So yeah, I have to give we might be done with the rules of acquisition by next Christmas, but I still want, if we ever get merch, I want some Christmas sweaters that say "Peldar Joy, assholes."
Well, I'm not going to knit them for you, but I'll help you find someone who will.
All right.
All right. Peldar Joy, assholes.
This has been a podcast.
All right.
All right.
Woo!
Subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher or Caster or Fuckcast or Podsucker. Review us on iTunes. Also grab a bit of fame for yourself by calling us at 917-408-3898 and leaving us a message. We play that shit on air. Or email us at rulesofacquisitionpodcast@gmail.com. Also, listen to our Deep Space Nine podcast Rules of Acquisition. It is pretty amazing, but you may not yet be ready for its awesome amazingness. Assess your personal awesomeness appropriately.